Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Marianne Hauser, and I'm the founder and also an executive and business coach at Serendipity Action Coach of Central North Carolina. Today, I'm really excited to say that we have William Barton, co-founder of Peacoat Media, with us today. And he's going to share with us what it's like to start a media business, his journey to business ownership, maybe give us a little insight into some of his challenges and best practices. What we want to do is get him to share a sneak peek of what it's really like to run a busy media powerhouse. And really, I'm super excited because as the mother of two sons, I'm a wife. I also have a teenage grandson that lives with us. The site that he has, which is called the Bootspy, I can't wait to share it with them because they are going to be really excited about learning more about the boots and the promotions that show up on that site. So you all know what this is like. If it's the first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to make sure that you get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. So welcome, William.
Thank you.
To get started, give us an overview of your organization and how you got this started.
Yeah. So I run a company called Peacoat Media, and we have a couple different companies within that, or brands within that, I should say. The biggest one is Bootspy.com. And so Bootspy.com, we basically do men's boot reviews, guides and stuff like that. So we'll do anything from our most popular post or thing out there is like the 13 best boots for men. And then that'll be, it'll go from that to how to clean your boots. We could how to lace your boots, like all kinds of different guides on just how to wear boots and where to find the best type. So we really demystify the process of that through bootspy.com. And I also have a YouTube channel as well, called Bootspy. And we have over 50,000 subscribers. And and basically that's our whole thing. That's what we do, is just try and get guys into better boots. So we started that back in June 2020. And I started that with a business partner. So he owns a different media company as well, which we kind of talked about before, but it's called theadultman.com, and it's basically a men's fashion and lifestyle sort of publication where, again, kind of the same mission, where it's just to help guys dress better, feel more confident. There's also some dating related advice on there. I was working with that site for a couple of years. And I kind of I was getting more into boots, into high quality men's footwear. And so I was just itching to start my own site and get into business myself. And so I partnered with Dean. He's the owner there at The Adult Man. I was already working with him. We had a great working relationship. So I was like, hey, I want to start something on my own. Let's do this. Let's create a new website. Let's create a new thing with Bootspy. And so we started that about 3 years ago. And in the 3.5 years since we started, I think we've had about over 6 million readers so far. And then we've had over, I think, 9 million viewers on YouTube. So
Wow.
About 15 million people in the 3.5 years. And we're, just bigger than ever. So continuing to grow every day.
As a business coach, we're always trying to figure out how we can help our clients niche down, because I don't know that there's that many people that are going to go in and search specifically on men's fashion. But I bet if somebody's looking to buy a pair of boots, that's something that they're going to actually, so the more narrow you can get your site to pop up.
Yeah.
That was, I think, a brilliant idea on your part. So congratulations.
Yeah, the more narrow is the bigger, the more narrow you are, the bigger you are, I think, in a lot of ways. And that's been one of the interesting things is there was another website. There's basically 3 websites. One of them started about a year before we did, and the other one started about the same time we did. And to really think about it, I mean, there's 3 people who are at this point, 3 years down the road, most people who are into what we call heritage fashion, which is just high end, it's like this denim jacket I'm wearing and stuff like this. Things that, they're a little more expensive, but the quality is the best it can possibly get. So I think amongst that group, we're pretty popular. Most people know us, or has at least seen some of our content. And I think that's just a virtue of niching down and being very, very narrowly focused and just being kind of like the best in one really small area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would definitely,
So
that's
that's great
a good thing to
advice for
do.
the other business owners listening. It doesn't matter what industry or what field, but having that ability to niche down and really get your target market honed
Yeah.
in is a super great formula for success. So we've already talked a little bit about your ownership structure. It's you and one other partner. Are there any other outside investors?
No, no. So we no other investors. Not at the moment. That might want to change that in some point in the future, but I think for now, definitely just all bootstrapped. So
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what role you play in the business and a little bit maybe about your team.
yeah, so I'm kind of, you know, it's we're pretty early startup. So I'd say between my business partner and I, we both wear all the hats. But if I was to say like what I am best at and what I kind of excel at and spend most of my time at, it'd be pretty comparable to a CMO or chief marketing officer. But basically, like we don't use those terms per se, but I'm more like the guy who gets traffic. Like I'm the guy who gets people to know about us. My business partner is more like you could call him like the CTO, the chief technical officer, um, where he's really in charge of, we have some developers who help us, and I'll kind of go in specifically like all the team members and what the team looks like. But he definitely handles like the technical aspects of the website and kind of improving some of the things to make our site a little more unique and interesting, and stand out a bit. So that's kind of the main thing is like I do the traffic and then he does the like maybe you could think of it as like retaining the traffic or
Right.
delivering our promise. So it kind of breaks down like that. I'd say like the CEO role in terms of like who makes the decisions. That's pretty 50-50 split in terms of like what direction we're going and stuff like that. So yeah,
So
so
who
that's kind of
creates the content on those sites? Because the content is beautiful.
yeah. So I primarily do most of the like photography and the writing. You know, when you talk about like an article on a website, it's so much more. It is so much more than photography and writing. It's kind of how it all comes together and how it all looks in the end. So, I would say each piece is definitely a collaborative effort. And in terms of who touches the piece on all the way through production, I mean, it's a pretty big team. So we have an editor, so whoever we have a team of writers. So we have about 3 different writers on our team. And then also add myself. Then we have an editor who goes through, edits the stuff. We have somebody who formats and uploads into our program, which is called WordPress. That's like the website that
Mhm.
the platform that we use. And yeah, and then we have somebody who edits formats, and then I go ahead and I hit the publish button. But then even after that, we have a video editor, and then we have some people working on our social media as well who help us like get the post out and um, promote that as well. So I'd say all in all, I think we got about 5 people full time if you include the business or no, yeah, 6 people full time if you include the business partner and Dean and I. So 6 of us are full time, and then probably 3 more part time people helping us out, mainly with writing. That's like where the part timers come in,
Mhm.
the writing. But yeah, so that's kind of the build out of the team.
Awesome. So having a team is, the key role of the business owner. How much of your time do you think you spend actually creating the content and doing the marketing versus managing your team and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, so managing the team, that's been something I've been learning a lot more about. That's something I've been becoming more skillful at. I will say for any entrepreneur listening, one of the things that I have been learning, I won't say that I'm like I learned it and I'm good at it or anything like that, but it's something I've been learning more is that when you hire somebody, I would always get kind of frustrated because or not frustrated, but I would feel like it was slowing me down because in a lot of ways I'm like, oh, like not only do I want to accomplish what I normally accomplish, but then I also want to, train this person and make sure that they're doing the right thing and getting the most value for the company. But what I realized is when you hire someone, like, it is your job to just make sure that they do their job for a while. And you need to give that several weeks. It could be several months. It could, to like make sure that they're doing everything they need to. And then you can kind of like take a step back and go into like, okay, now I'm going to go back to writing new content and doing new things and doing what I'm can do fast and really well. But if you don't spend that time managing and really giving like very clear feedback on your expectations, then it's like, it just ends up not, the team member is
Right.
not
You
able
both
to
end
like
up
take off.
frustrated.
Yeah, the team
Yeah.
member's not able to take off, and they're not really sure what they're supposed to be doing, and um so that's been something I've been learning a lot. It's like, when you hire a team member, it is going to be, there's no way around it being a productivity loss for a little while. But then if you just embrace it and you just go, okay, like, I'm not going to be doing much work because I'm going to be training this person for 2 weeks or whatever, and just being like all in on giving all the feedback and not letting things like slip, where it's like, oh, this needed to be, there should have been a comma here, there should have been this or whatever, like being like, I'm going to give that feedback and just be 100% all in on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing where, like, that level of detail, in my opinion, that's what you need to do. That's your job for a while. And then you can go back and pick up all the other tasks you have laying on the, wait.
Absolutely spot on there, William. We do a course. We have a 12-week management training course. And as we launch it, we talk about how for so long people thought management was sort of a dirty word and we all have to be leaders, right? And leaders are there to inspire and enroll the team. But if you don't have good management and set clear expectations, and in the beginning, actually micromanage for a little while, you're all going to be frustrated, or so that's fabulous advice for the folks who are listening. So this question is a little bit about target marketing, right? You have a product that is targeting men's products and how to be a more confident man, to put it in your words. But how do you go about determining your target market? Because there's a lot of men on the planet.
Yeah. So, that's been something, honestly, still a work in progress. We did not start the website with I'll say, looking back, I thought I had an idea of like who we were targeting. 3 years later, I'm like, oh, I had no idea who we were looking at or what we were trying to do. Because we started off and we would do boot reviews for every single brand out there. Like, if there's a boot, like, we would review it. And over the 3 years, we kind of figured out more and more, like, there's a specific type of guy who is into high quality, I'll say, like, there's people who are willing to spend $350 on a jacket because they know, like, I'm gonna wear this for the rest of my life and it's gonna fit well and it's gonna feel good and it's gonna be awesome. And then there are people, like, honestly, I'm not lying, like, by myself, like, I don't know that I would spend $350 on a jacket, or, it previously, at the time when I started the site, like, there's no way I would do that. But over time, as I kind of like learn more, I kind of found out that, okay, I don't know, there's just this like segment of people. There's this group of guys who are really into this. And then, you kind of find out the brands that they're into. And so you look that up, and I spent some time on Instagram, honestly, just like looking. So sometimes it's like best to visualize what it looks like. So you just look up the brands on Instagram and be like, oh, this is what they wear. These are the things they pair with that. And you look that up and you just kind of like, I don't know, you just like poke around for a while. Like, it might, a lot of times it doesn't seem very productive. And I wouldn't, like, if you're looking to niche down and stuff like that, like, I wouldn't spend days doing this, but, I definitely have spent some time just poking around Instagram and just kind of like following the trails of just like, well, who's this person? What's this brand? What do they do? Who do they feature on their Instagram? And then over time, you kind of build a picture of like, okay, I think I have an idea of like what this person is, or what they would like, or what they would enjoy, and then the different levels. Okay, if they're just starting and they see a cool picture and they're like, oh, I want to look like that guy. How do I get them, the beginner information? And then, but then also, if an expert comes in and they want to know something super specific and obscure, how do I also get them an interesting piece of information that they wouldn't know otherwise as well? So I don't know if that answers the question or not, but that's kind of just my process
It
for like
does.
figuring out
And
the
I'm
niche.
curious, how many women are interested in what you do? Because as a, a woman who has surrounded herself with men, I have sons and grandsons and a husband. I looked at the sites and I got excited, right?
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that these are, when I look at the Bootspy, I know that when I share this with my son who lives in Raleigh, he's going to be excited to take some time and poke
Yeah.
around, right?
Yes.
So, um, do you ever spend time targeting women?
I don't specifically do anything that targets women. Not yet anyway. I think we still have several years of just really focusing in on dudes before we kind of expand out. But hopefully more and more women get into this sort of raw denim and boots. High quality. We call it like Goodyear welted footwear, just basically high quality footwear. Um, but the fact is like there's not that many brands that do it. And so there hasn't been a lot of education around this specific style that we're going after. There are definitely some women in the industry who, and like, they're popular because there's like 15 of them like in total. So, it's not like it's not such a broad market that, as a media company, we could, if we did like a best women's boots, we get, it
I'm
would
not
get
even talking about marketing women for women's products. Women want their men to look good.
right, right.
So when I looked at it, I was like, oh, I'm going to share this with the men in my life because I want them to look good.
Yes.
So that's just my little coaching tip off to the side.
No,
So
that's
let's
nice.
move
Yeah.
on a little bit. It leads me to marketing. You said that your role is like the CMO. I'm always curious to see what business owners are doing. So what percentage of your monthly sales is invested back into marketing? And do you have a marketing budget?
Yeah, so we are pretty profit heavy. We've been changing that though purposefully. Honestly, our budget, it's kind of hard to say like what percentage goes back. I would say maybe 15 to 20%, 15% of our revenue is kind of like baked into, whether it's rent and hosting fees and this and that, the other, like just like different things that like we need to just do the basics of run the business. And then the rest of the revenue is kind of up to our discretion of like how we want to spend it. If we want to spend it at all. But we have last year we launched a product basically. We launched a physical product because I should say like a lot of our revenue, a lot of our sales is really from affiliate, which is
Mm-hmm.
we recommend a brand. If somebody goes through and purchases, then we get a commission. So we don't ship or deal with physical products as our main business. We're really just doing referrals. Um, so but in 2023, at the beginning of 2023, we launched a sock company called Camel City Mill. And that's like premium merino wool socks for trade workers. And so we did get into that. And so that changed a lot of our business fundamentally, just from like a full cash flow perspective, where, you know, it almost flips everything on our head, where we were pretty much running at 80% profit. And, you know, we could, in a pinch, we could keep 80, we could keep it at 80% profit, or we could be more malleable with that. To all of a sudden, when you have a physical product, you're doing e-commerce, it's like, all right, now your margin is like 30%. And then, there's advertising, there's like it just cash flow flips all, and you got to pay for that inventory up front. So it just flips the whole model on its head. Um, so not to go too much on a tangent, I would say
Whew.
we've been, so I'm just going to leave Camel City Mail out for a while because that's just like I don't even know what's going on. But I'd say for Bootspy, we have been reinvesting more into better content. So we just hired an editor, or a journalist, and he's won 2 Emmys. He's like a really, really skilled journalist. He like did the Iditarod. He's done a bunch of just like the most fun, interesting stories. He did this one story where he was like he jumped out of an airplane with a bunch of with an army, I don't know, regiment, or maybe a group, I don't know, a small group of U.S. Army soldiers. They jumped out of, they were doing training and doing paratrooper training. So he like did that and reported on it. So he's this like really great reporter with amazing like journalistic tendencies. So we just brought him on as our managing editor, to just help us basically create better content that people just want to come back to the site and read. So basically long answer short, we can, if we want to, run it at 80% profit, but we're investing a lot more of that back, not necessarily into any advertising or anything like that, but just straight up into better content with the idea that that will pay off, and
Right.
that'll just, it's kind of hard. There's no spreadsheet that says like, if your content is X good, you'll get X amount of people coming back. So this is kind of just like a gut feeling based off of like experience. And, we're just hoping that if we make really interesting pieces that nobody else can or will make, then we'll build a stronger audience, a more loyal audience. So.
Awesome. It made me think about a book and somebody who is one of our strategic partners at Action Coach, and it's the book They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, and he talks a lot about content. And when you create content on a website, or to make sure that your content answers the questions that people are asking, whether they're asking it in their head or right, you have to really start to understand your audience so that you write content that interests people. And that's a great strategy, because that's like invisible SEO, right? It's organic, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of things people can do with their life to earn a living. Why did you choose to go into business for yourself and be that entrepreneur? What was it that inspired you to do that?
Yeah. So, I was living in San Francisco for about 5 years after college. Moved there, and I became an English teacher. So I taught at a high school for students with autism and dyslexia. And when I was there, it was like it was the best job I ever had. It was so fun. But living in San Francisco on like a teacher salary, it was pretty hard to make ends meet. So
Sure.
I basically started doing freelance writing because that's something I was interested in. And I would sit down and write every morning, and I was very, very into I didn't care. I was like, I want to be a writer. That's all I care. I don't even care what type of writer. I'm just going to be a writer. So I started freelance writing because, there's things like Upwork and where you could just go find like gigs and stuff like that. And over time, just taking all kinds of just weird jobs and weird little gigs writing. I met the guy Dean from The Adult Man, and that's where I got into men's fashion and all that. Like I was not necessarily into men's fashion prior to, and then I just followed where the money was because I needed to pay rent in San Francisco, and I was like, okay, like another piece, cool, I'll write it. And I probably ended up writing over the course of a year or something like that. I probably wrote maybe like 100 articles or something like that. And through that whole time, Dean was really gracious in kind of like filling me in and letting me know like the impact of my work as well. And I started to learn basically through the whole process, like not just writing skills, but SEO too, which you mentioned SEO. And that's like what that whole site is built off of. So I started to learn SEO and was just naturally like very curious about it. I was like, what is this? Because I just wanted to do a good job. Not necessarily, I didn't even know you could make money. I was suspicious that like 5 best watches for men or something like that, like you pay me to write this, like early on. From my perspective, I'm like, yeah, it's so obvious, like why not? But back then I had no clue, so I was like, all right, this is kind of weird, but like I'll do it. So I started to learn SEO, and then when I kind of like when it really hit me, like the amount of work that I'd done and seeing what it translated to for Dean's business, I was like, oh, the more time I spend doing this for somebody else, the more, like it's hard to write 100 articles in a year. Like it's a lot of work. And I kind of knew, I was like, I don't know how many years I have of just like flat out, just nose to the grindstone, just busting this work out. So I was like, okay, the more time I spend working for somebody else and making articles for their sites, the more time I'm kind of like losing from my own ability to do this, because I might only have 3 years of being able to just like go flat out all the way. So that was, and COVID really helped in a way where it was just like what I was doing. I was doing brand partnerships with the Adult Man, and those all kind of dried up right away, immediately, which is, interesting, because at the time, like, it's clear in hindsight, digital advertising was a great thing to do in at the beginning of COVID, but in the moment, everyone stopped. So
Everyone stopped everything, right? It
yeah,
was like, right.
so I was like not out of work, right? I still had that role. I was still doing that, but nobody was signing contracts. Nobody was doing anything. So I was just like, I stopped making money and stopped having work to do, basically. So I was like, all right, well, now's the time. Like, let's start this website. Like, let's do this. I got this idea. I'm interested in this thing. I'm interested in men's boots. I want to do these reviews. I know how to do it already. I've written 100 articles for this other site in men's fashion. So let's just start this new thing. Yeah, it was just really surprised. And I started the YouTube channel at the same time. And I was just really surprised on the YouTube side to see like that that went pretty fast. Like, in terms of how quickly it took for us to get to 1,000 subscribers and how many people, thousands of people were watching per video. That was like a lot faster. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, with websites, it takes a long time to build that audience. But with the YouTube, just seeing how quickly that was building over more like 3 months, whereas like a Google site might take, you know, 12 months to 18 months to really like, or like a website to
Sure.
pick up SEO traffic. That might take up to 18 months to like do anything really. But the YouTube channel is like, hey, we're getting like 1,000 or maybe 2,000 views on a video within 2 months, 3 months. It's like, okay, so there's an audience here. There's something here. And so we just kind of grew them both in tandem to now. It's like, I think we get about 100,000 readers a month. And then we're at about 750,000 viewers a month on the YouTube channel right now. So yeah.
That's fabulous. That's
Yeah.
fabulous. Wow. That's such a success story. So what brought you from San Francisco to Winston-Salem?
Yeah, my brother went to Wake Forest. So he was, and I would just come out to North Carolina in the summers to visit him. I got married. My wife and I she was also in San Francisco, and we're like, all right, we want to like get a house, want to have a family. This is just not going to happen here in San Francisco, because they had like these like shacks for like $1.5 million. And it's like, yeah,
Yep.
that's not possible. So we just came out and visited North Carolina a couple times. We're like, that's it's nice. Like, you get space, you get to do. I don't know. It's just a little more like normal. It seems like a normal place. It seems quiet and fun too, where you can like go out, and if you want to own a bike and ride it around without your bike getting stolen and without having to worry about getting hit by a car, like, yeah, you could do that in North Carolina. So we moved out probably 5 years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago, and the original intention was we were just gonna stay here for a couple of years, save up, and go back to California and buy a house. But we moved out here. We're like, no, we're just definitely staying here. This is way awesome. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I'm from New York and we moved here and we're not going back.
yeah, it's just awesome.
So, you mentioned you have your team and a little bit about your leadership style. Is there any other thing you want to share about your leadership style
That's
and
something I'm
how
definitely.
you approach hiring and retaining your team?
Yeah, so for hiring, I am pretty blessed in that my business partner Dean, he was a former recruiter, so he was a recruiter in a past job, so he definitely handles most of the hiring. I'll say I do some
Mhm.
hiring for writers. I'll do some hiring, like I hired our video editor and stuff like that. Things where like they're just going to be specifically working with me. Then I'll do the hiring for that. But in terms of, that's not something I've really delved into a ton, because like as a recruiter, he's got the skills, like he knows better. He's a lot more asks a lot more probing questions, and kind of has a better feel for that sort of thing. So, and he's done it, like he's made some good hires. So um in terms of my leadership style, that's something I'm definitely learning more about, and it's very interesting because we're a pretty global company. Um, like I said, like I'm in North Carolina, my business partner's in Australia. our video editor and developer, they're in the Philippines. We have a VA in Ukraine. Like it's just 24/7, all different time zones. We were working with someone in Portugal. Like there's just it's a broad range of where our team's at. No two people are even close to the same, not even like the same continent, you know? So, I guess that's, yeah, to me, that's normal because in the digital marketing world, that's like a lot of people have teams like that. But, you know, speaking to entrepreneurs out there, like that's probably not normal. That not many people, you know you can do that or are familiar with that. But yeah, we run everything what's called asynchronously. So it's kind of like, obviously it doesn't make sense for everyone to be like, okay, 9 to 5, because for some people that's 1 in the morning to, you know, 9 in the morning.
Right.
So that's just not possible. So we do everything basically through Slack and through a CMS, where, you know, it's just like, okay, it's very much task oriented, not time oriented. And that's actually a really interesting thing. We got to keep this in terms of like getting an article published and doing it fast, where it is when it works, it's amazing. And we've got it down pretty well where like if I finish writing a piece, it's like, you know, I spend like say 3 hours writing and taking the photos and publishing and getting it all ready. Then when I leave work, somebody else it's just their morning. And so they'll pick it up, edit it, and then pass it on the next stage. And then when they're done with work, and it's like, then it goes to like with the time zone, it's almost like somebody is constantly working on this piece until it's done and published right away. So things just move super fast, in where like my workday is almost perfectly offset with the next people who need it, where they're sleeping when I'm working, and then I go to sleep, and then they work on it, and so I wake up and it's done, and I'm like, sweet. Like
Yep.
that's been it is a really cool feature of having you know, a dispersed business where, you know, it's asynchronous, is that, you know, things get done 24, like somebody is working on Bootspy
24/7. Yep,
24/7.
that's beautiful. And you're not the first business owner that we've worked with that has had that situation. And they say it's like amazing that you come up with the idea here, you shift it off to someone in a different time zone, you wake up, it's completed. That
Yeah.
is, you can't be any more efficient than
Yeah.
that, which is
So that's
really
really
cool.
cool. I will say, like, you know, one of the things, I mean, that's the upside, is that somebody's working on it 24/7, which is a very good benefit. One of the downsides is that you don't have that sort of, like, it would be really hard, I think, to cultivate that sort of like pirate ship type feeling, you know, or like we're in this like little group and we're fighting against, you can't, it's kind of hard to do that inspirational type leadership aspect, because it's just, you know, you're not in the same building with people. You know, so things, you have to work harder at communicating where the business is as a whole, and just like being very thoughtful about, you know, and two people who don't, you know, our developer and our uploader, it's like they never communicate. So they don't even necessarily know, you know, that there's other team members. So try and do a little bit to just like connect the whole team together, which, you know, it's limited, right? There's only so much you can do, but that's something we do try and work on, is like, how do we connect everyone and let them know they're part of like a bigger team and that we're all working towards a
Right.
common goal. So
Because that's important. You know, people want to feel a sense of belonging to something that's bigger than just punching a clock, right? And getting a
yeah,
project done. So that's
yeah.
great that you're focused on that. We have covered so much ground already, and I really wish I could spend another half hour asking more questions, but we're going to go and shift into our rapid fire session as we wind down the interview today. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions and just what comes top of mind, to share with the business owners who are listening. So what is the key to success for you?
I would say just waking up early. So I'm a very early riser. Like I got up at today was unusually early. I woke up at like 3:30 today, but at least 5 a.m. is like the latest I'll go. But I have been doing that since for about 8 years or 9 years, and shown up like today. I showed up. I was in the office by 6 o'clock and 6 a.m. and then just got like 4 hours of work done of like real like focusing on, okay, what are the things that the audience sees that grows the business? For me, that's creating new content. So it's like get into the office at 6 a.m., for 4 hours, just create content. No, no phone, no nothing, just create content. And then you could just do, the taxes, the talking to team members and things like that, following up with people. So I would say, yeah, key to success for me personally is waking up early. My business partner, for him, it's
Awesome.
staying up late. So he's up till like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. It's weird. So yeah.
I think if you were to interview all of the billionaires in the world, they would all probably agree and side with you that getting up early is the key to is one of the big keys to success. Yeah, I was up at 5:30 this morning too, but I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't interrupt you. So what's your one piece of advice for other business owners?
One piece of advice, I think I would say, finding the one important thing in your business and trying to like boil it down into like what's the one problem you're facing right now, really. So I guess just focus. If it's for like, I'll just say like the challenge we're facing right now is monetization. Like how do we do a better job of monetizing the audience that we have? So really just like until you solve that one problem first, because there's a billion problems. Getting more traffic, converting that traffic better, getting more, all these things. Like there's so many different problems to work on. You can work on, it's better to not work on them simultaneously. It's better to work on like one, clear that bottleneck, and then go to the next thing, I would say.
Awesome. And I think there's even a book called The One Thing, right?
Okay.
I can't remember who the author is right now, but you just reminded me. I think I'm going to go back and reread The One Thing because I read
Nice.
that a while back. So
Yeah.
what's the one, speaking of books, what's the one book you're reading right now or that you've read most recently that's worth sharing?
I would say, well, the most recently that I read was the Elon Musk biography. That was just crazy. Like the amount of intensity that guy brings to his team, I found pretty inspiring. Yeah, so that's probably the book that I read recently that was the most like that, or that had like an impact.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And I haven't read that one, so I'll have to add that to my list.
yeah, it's written by
And if you
Walter
could,
Isaacson. He's the man. So Walter Isaacson's a great
Walter,
biographer. So
I've written that down. Great. And if you had to choose one area, like you had a magic wand and you could immediately improve one area of your business tomorrow, what would it be?
that would probably be improving, well, I guess the finances. If I could just wave a magic wand and be like, bank account, that would be awesome. Because that's what it's all about, I guess. That's what we're going for. But besides that, I would probably say maybe something around finding a yeah, or yeah, probably the coolest thing would be finding a number two, I guess, somebody who could do the same or similar work as I could and have a similar overview of the business so that I could trust that the business would continue to grow without my constant involvement. That would be the second best thing besides just magic money showing up.
That would, well, magic money, I think we'll all take some magic money,
That would
but
that would
that's exactly what we do at Action Coaches. We teach people how to build a business that runs without them.
Yeah.
Because so many people start a company and really what they've done is they've just started a job that they
Oh
own
yeah.
themselves.
Oh,
And
big time.
so the fact that that's where your focus is heading is a very smart place to be focused on. And you will find that person, especially because you're talking to people all over the planet and
Yeah.
your team is from everywhere. I'm sure that that person will show up. The more you think about it and the more you write that down as a goal, I think the universe will conspire to deliver it to you.
Nice.
So I know you said that that book inspired you, but if we were to say, what is the one thing that's most inspiring to you today? What would that be?
Yeah, I'd say from a business perspective, we I'd say we got a pretty big idea where we're going. I think I don't know, I can't say like what. I can't say like why, but I just realized that we were thinking very small with what we have, with like Bootspy, what Bootspy is. and what we can do for people, in terms of just being like the obvious resource for people. Like right now, I think we're a good choice, and people find us and like, oh, cool, this is good. But I think there's more we could do to become just the obvious choice of like, I want to go back there and I'm checking, maybe opening an app and checking it every day and stuff like that. So we've been, what's inspiring me most today is just the idea of like, there's some other media companies, media brands that are in different verticals, like, that do such a good job at fostering an audience and really like building a real community. And I think we have not done that yet. And I think that's somewhere where it's like, oh, like, I get it. Like I need to think way bigger than just, giving people one answer here and giving people one answer here and making something interesting here. It's like, no, we need to like build a full community. And yeah, so I think that's what's most inspiring to me right now is I have it in my mind. I know exactly like what it could look like and what it could be. And now it's just a matter of like, how do we get there, which is inspiring in itself. That's like fun to be like, okay, I know what I want. I have no idea how to do it. And so, but like, we're going to do things like hire a really great journalist to make content because we just believe that it will help without knowing. There's nothing, no spreadsheet that tells you this is going to work. So just kind of like living on that line of like, I think this should work. I mean, but we'll see, so.
Yep. So yeah, I think inspiration comes from knowing that there's opportunity and there's so much more you can do, right?
Yeah.
That's, I think there've been some studies that show that, the things that make people happy are the pursuit of a goal. And the minute you reach a goal, people can tend to be depressed. And so resetting that goal and resetting what the vision looks like is always not, inspiring and exciting. So congratulations on that. So as we wrap up today, what is the one thing you want the audience to do so that they can connect with you and your brand?
Yeah, so if you are interested in men's boots or you want a recommendation on a great pair of like high quality footwear, you can always go to bootspy.com. That's BOOTSPY.com. Also have a YouTube channel, like I said, over 50,000 subscribers. And if you just type in Bootspy on YouTube, or even if you just type Bootspy in on Google, like we'll pop up everywhere, and we have an Instagram and everything like that. So if you are interested, if you want to reach out to me, you can find my email on bootspy.com, or if just Instagram, you can also DM me there. And then happy to do boot recommendations or just tell you more about, starting a media company, or if you're interested in anything like a specific niche that you're interested in, like if it's like bowling or pool or whatever it is, like, always happy to talk about how to turn that hobby into a living. And there's a lot of ways to do that, which is just so insane to me still, that it's relatively easy to turn these things into a decent living. So yeah, if that's interesting to you and you want to reach out, you feel free to Bootspy on Instagram, or YouTube, or bootspy.com.
Wonderful. Bootspy.com. I know I'm going to make sure that the men in my life all go there. And I do think that as women who are listening to this, they are all going to want to share it with the men in their lives, which is also pretty cool.
They should.
So thank you so much for your time, William. I look forward to seeing this out on your YouTube channel as well as mine. And it's also going to be on Spotify and all of the podcast channels. So make sure, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, you like and subscribe, and we will see you when we present our next business owner on the Business Owner Spotlight. Have a great day.